We are live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Positive Vibes with Trey Lou. I have the beautiful couple, Karen and Robert Holman, with me on this morning. We're going to be talking about a topic that's going to save lives, and it's also going to it's going to help people. We want to make sure that we are in the helping season of love, and that we do everything that we can. Karen, first, and let's introduce yourself and your handsome husband, and tell us exactly why we're here.
Okay, my name is Karen Holman. This is my wonderful husband, Robert Holman.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about kidney donation, how to qualify to be a donor for a kidney, and just having a transplant kidney and what that life is like.
Amen. You know what? Let's talk about, we're going to talk about some questions. I have some questions, and I am just doing some things behind the scenes here so we can make sure we're all set up live here. Just give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay, wait. Okay, here we go. All right. So let's talk about, I have some questions for you. So what does it mean to be a organ donor?
What does it mean?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to say that I'm an organ donor.
Yep.
My husband needed a kidney 16 years ago, I think it was. June 6, 2006. So I'm going to give you the short version.
Okay.
God told me that I was his donor. That's not something I believed, but I obeyed.
Yeah.
And I went and got myself tested, and I found out that I was a perfect match for him.
Yeah.
And so we went through the process. They take psychological tests and make sure you're not being pressured into doing that. They make sure that you're doing it of your own free will. And, next thing I know, we had the surgery. I gave him my kidney. I'm in the room, just trying to cope with that. And I see him with a new kidney, and it's like he just lit up like a Christmas tree. He would walk, and, I was in the bed saying, I just did what? I donated a kidney. But that was good, and it gave him life. Because before that, I watched him on dialysis for a long time, and it wasn't a pretty picture. And that's why God told me. I asked him, what can I do? And he told me.
Yeah. And the other side of that story is that my wife is definitely afraid of needles and anything involving hospitalization.
Yeah.
And she had to do a tissue sample the same day. We was at Northwestern Hospital. And we were there on a Friday, and they called us on Monday because she had went in and she made a declaration. I am his perfect donor. And the nurse called screaming and hollering on Monday saying, you are a perfect match. You actually marked all 6 DNA markers, and his children could not have done that.
Wow.
So it was not
exciting.
phenomenal. And within a month or so, we were in the hospital. We had the surgery. She left a day before me. Our daughter came and picked us up. Stephanie, she picked Karen up, then came back later on and picked me up. And we recovered together. It appeared to me that it was more painful for her than it was for me. But that's
the strong woman that God has blessed you with, right?
Yeah. You still telling jokes. Yeah, she is a strong woman, because that's not something that you just do overnight. You just don't wake up one day and decide, I'm going to rip myself open and allow someone to take out one of my organs. It takes a lot of thought and a lot of prayer. And it also takes, the prayer keeps other people out of your head too.
Amen.
Because I'm sure family members were concerned. Yeah. I was concerned. I wasn't willing to take her kidney. I'm going to be honest with you. I said, no, if this doesn't go right, I don't want to cause any adversity to your health. But it turns out for up until 2019,
wow,
the kidney worked perfectly well, but just so happened that during 2019 to 2018 to 2019, I started experiencing some difficulties when I would cough, and the doctor said it was like a reflux in my system. They found out that one of the heart valves in my heart was calcified. It was hardening. And whenever I would cough, the blood would rush out of the heart and would not go back right.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost caused me to pass out. So they ended up having to give me a new heart valve, which was great. But in the process of giving me the new heart valve, they gave me this stuff called contrast
Mm-hmm.
three times. And any type of donor recipient, you can't give contrast. And so over a period of time, the contrast killed the kidney.
Wow.
It wasn't that long. After the third dose, the contrast, the heart was perfect, felt like a brand new person, but the kidney function started to diminish. And it went down to the point where my creatinine level, which is a level of determining how clean the kidney is working or how well it's functioning, it went to the point where it was at stage 4. So I wound up on dialysis.
Yes.
So then tell me in regarding the donation, the donor, who pays for the operation?
Well, the donor, I was a donor, so his insurance paid for the operation, which is wonderful. They pay 100%. And another program they have now is where, and this is through the National Kidney Register. A program they have now is that if you donate a kidney and you miss work and miss wages, they will pay you up to $60,000, in missed wages. Say if you miss that much. So they really have really great incentives now, more than before.
They also pay for medication.
And they pay for medication. They pay for everything if you're a donor. So it's not a cost you need to worry about at all.
So then the question I know about his kidney failing after you've given him a donor. How did his kidneys fail in the beginning? What caused his kidneys to fail in the beginning?
To this day, nobody can actually tell me why my kidney failed, but we can do some speculation. My kidneys started failing. Actually, the first experience I had knowingly was Father's Day, 1968. I passed out in the bathroom. I had a 6-month-old baby girl and the whole family. We were having Father's Day, so everybody was there, and my uncle rushed me to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And they got there, and they started asking me, had I ever been to Vietnam? I had never been to Vietnam. And so they did all these examinations, and they found out that I had renal failure. And they started working to correct that as much as possible, because in 1968, you had renal failure, you died. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
I was back at work by August, and went through that recovery process for a long time, and was doing quite well. And actually, until I think it was June in 2005,
Mm-hmm.
when the kidney and the creatinine level just plummeted. And it was actually, it was a month before we got married. So it was in August that it really, no, it was in June that it fell. It was in August that I was on dialysis. And that was a month before Karen and I got married. We got married in 2005, September the 3rd. And I was in there for 9 months, in dialysis for 9 months. And one day she left her keys or something. She came to the dialysis center and had to come into the dialysis center. And once coming into the dialysis center, she saw these tubes. I had been explaining to her what the process were, but if you don't see it, you don't know it. And she looked at me and said, "Oh my God, they are taking all the blood out your body and putting it back in."
Mm-hmm.
And it was after that God confirmed that she was a perfect donor.
But I want to say, answer your question.
I didn't answer it.
Answer your question. It's a lot of things that can cause a kidney to fail, and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's
They didn't know.
But what are some of the things are bad eating habits. I'm not sure how smoking affects it. It doesn't? Okay, so bad eating habits, poor lifestyle, not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, let me.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. One of the things that I think that happened to my chemicals.
Oh yeah.
If you work in an environment
Right.
with chemical fumes,
Mm-hmm.
and because I was working as an electrician at U.S. Steel Southworks, and we were working in these concrete vaults using this pulling compound, which had all kinds of types of contaminants in it. At that time, we didn't know it. And, you know, we didn't clean our hands sometimes when we would smoke a cigarette if you smoked or drank coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of way, I believe that working in that environment, working in a foundry and all the rest of those places, they have chemicals now that they're not even using today, thanks
Mm-hmm.
to the EPA. And some kind of way, I believe that got into my chemicals, you know, got into my system and got into my kidney ultimately, because everything goes into your kidney. So chemical environment, you have to be very careful.
And obesity does not help.
Yeah. Fortunately, at that time, I was about 160 pounds.
Yeah.
So that was because that was chemically related, but obesity doesn't help.
Yeah.
Diabetes and high blood pressure, those things can cause catastrophic circumstances to your kidney. But they kind of also play in concert with each other, just like I was 160 something pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And the first indicator that I had a kidney problem was my blood pressure went up exponentially, and I had never had blood pressure problem. I was thin as a rail. Well,
wow, you was at 160 something, and your blood pressure went up. Wow,
it went up exponentially. So they started attacking the symptoms instead of the cause, and that didn't help. And my knees wouldn't work. My joints stopped working. It was a whole lot of things, but that I do believe was chemically related, and from there, high blood pressure set in, diabetes set in, all kinds of things set in, and but as you said, obesity is one of the primary causes of kidney failure because it does so many different things to your immune system.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, what type of blood should a wanting donor have if they wanted to donate a kidney to you?
To me, it would be B plus or type O.
And type O is a type that can donate
to
anyone.
Yeah.
And that's what I had, type O.
Right.
And he's a B plus.
Right.
So he needs another B plus.
Yeah.
However, they have a program called Pair Share. Meaning
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Okay, Pair Share is, say if someone had type A and they want to donate to Rob with type B. Okay, so they have a whole system where they have donors waiting to donate. Okay. And so what they would do is they would find somebody in the system. Say if somebody wanted to donate to Rob and that person was an A, they would find an A in the system. And then they will find a B in the system to donate to Rob. So the person, they would swap them out. So the person that wanted to donate to Rob, their kidney would go to that A person, and then they would find a B person to donate to Rob.
Right.
Is that understandable?
It is. It is. So the question I have, I'm just thinking, and of course I don't know a lot about it. So if someone is AB positive, is that a possibility? Because it's not B positive, but it's AB positive. But is that they donate?
If they're AB positive, it would have to still be the paired
Share.
donor.
Yeah,
the paired donor. But they University of Alabama, which is the second place that I'm registering at, is they have a process over there called the A2B, and some kind of way they're doing new tissue samples and modifications where they're taking this rare type A blood, which is similar to O, and now they can give to a B. So there's actually 3 categories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this we just learned yesterday.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes,
so after Karen, after you donated your kidney to your husband, how long was your recovery? And Robert, how long was yours?
My recovery was about 6 weeks. Now, that's what they told me, don't move for 6 weeks or, now, it was some pain associated with it. And I would say that was in the first 2 weeks, because they gave me some pretty strong medication to keep the pain down, but I stopped taking it after a week. I just didn't like it. But by 6 weeks, I remember being back at church. So that's how I measure it.
Well, mine was 14.
And how long was your recovery, Rob?
14 to 21 days.
Wow.
I could have returned to work after 21 days. There, there's they put the stent in the vessel going from the kidney to, I think it's from the kidney to the bladder, and you have to wait long enough for them to take that out, and
Mhm.
then you can actually start to exercise and walk and all those other things.
So the takeaway from that is the one who gives a kidney, they need time to heal, longer time to heal than the one who received it.
Maybe.
Now, at what age can a donor be for an adult?
Well, I think one of the things, I think legally they have to be over the age of 21 unless they're a deceased donor. But the more important aspect of kidney donorship is size. The size of the kidney must match the size of the person
Mhm.
that's receiving the kidney.
Mhm.
So her kidney was slightly smaller than I needed, but it still worked well.
Well, praise
So
God for that.
yeah. So if she had have been half her size or half her height, it might not have been a good match because it might not have functioned well
Yeah.
as far as size is concerned. Kidney's about the size of my fist. Hers was a little bit smaller,
Wow.
but it is more size related than age. But I believe legally you have to be over 18 years old.
Okay. Now, quick question: when you talk about you mentioned about it being a deceased donor. I know there's a lot of people that are confused regarding donating and being in a coma versus being brain dead and donating. Do you have any insight on that? I know with comas people can recover from comas, but they can't recover when they're brain dead. And normally that's when the donating of organs is pretty much in
Yeah.
conversation with
If you are a person that's in a coma and whoever your what do they call it? What attorney is that? Power of attorney is.
Yeah.
Has to make some determination regarding your health. Uh, that's not something that's not something I believe they do with donorship. But if you are considered, I hate the term, but I'll use it anyway, brain dead, um, the power of attorney has to determine when to shut down the ventilator and all the rest of those things, and then distribute or harvest the organs.
Mhm.
And we just recently went through a similar experience like that. A young man passed away, and he told his mother at a very early age that he wanted to donate all of his organs. And we actually received a call with regard to that. I wasn't eligible at that time, but he wound up donating when they decided to let him transition.
Mhm.
Then he harvested all of the organs and distributed them quickly.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, not nice, but that it's a beautiful thing. Now I know that when a person is when a person is considered brain dead when there's no activity to the brain, but if they are determined to be a donor, then then the hospitals or the OPTN they can keep the organs alive so that they can be donated to a proper
Right.
the proper match for the donor.
Yes.
In this case that we're talking about, the young man had passed a week earlier before they harvested.
Yeah. And it's important for people to have an advance directive just in case you're alone and you have no one to be a power of attorney for you. And it's just a simple form you fill out, and it'll tell them that you want to have your organs donated.
Yeah, which
It will tell them, just like, you get it on the back of a driver's license, you can say you want to be a donor. But if you don't have any, people to speak up for you, an advance directive will speak up for you.
Mm-hmm. And how could one go about getting an advance directive? And I know when they fill that out, they have to be in the right mind to do so.
Yes, you have to be in the right mind.
And
It has to be notarized. You can get one from an attorney. You can get one from the hospital. They'll give you, a lot of times they say, do you have an advance directive? And they'll give you a packet where you can create your own. And it's another website. Go through I would say go through the internet. I can't think of this website. It's for older people. And I can't think of the name of it. But they have a copy of an advanced directive.
I'll get all that information and post it, after the broadcast.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I know there's a lot of organs that can be donated. You know, there's eyes, there's tissue, there's blood stem cells, there's bone marrow, and there's all those things that can be donated as well. A lot of people think that it has to be like the main organs, and it's really not.
No, not at all. The retina is one of the most was becoming a very popular donation now.
Now let's talk about. I want to talk about some of the myths. You know, people. You know, there's a lot of myths meaning like not really true news regarding donating and things like that. People think, well, I have a medical condition. Well, that may not be a myth, but I have a medical condition. I cannot be a donor.
Like Rob said earlier, it depends on what the medical condition is. That could be true.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, the only way that if you really are interested in being a donor, take it up with your primary care physician. Start there.
Yeah.
And start going through the testing process. They're going to give you a 24-hour urine. They're also going to do some blood work and make some determinations. They look at different traits that's within your body to determine if you are healthy enough to be a donor. They also concern age-wise? Yeah. Can you survive the incisions that's going to take place if are your tissues fragile? There's a lot of different things. This is a pretty extensive exercise, but it's in saying that it's still easy. But wow. There are some things.
You just pour right into my next myth that people think that I'm too young or I'm too old to be a donor, and you just answered that question. Whether their body can withstand the operation, the surgery, and just the repairing of what was just done to their body.
Right.
And then also there's another myth that people say my religion does not support donating, and I know that through research either some religions do, but then it's also said that there's donating can be the final act of love, which is God is love. It could be a final act of love from the Bible.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about donation, but I do know that there are certain religious sectors that have blood transfusion restrictions, and you might have to get a transfusion because you might anytime you go into surgery, you're going to lose blood. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is with kidney patients, because of the fact that your kidney is not functioning properly, you're short on blood anyway. So that's one of the things that you might get a transfusion, but the donator does not have to have a transfusion unless there's an issue in the operation. I think being a smoker or being obese are more critical than anything, because it's not so much post-operation, but during the operation. If you're a smoker, you could have breathing problems. And if you're obese, you could have breathing problems. There's also a lot of extra tissue that needs to be cut when you're of a certain size. So those are things that have to be taken into account. You have to get the weight down.
And there's a myth that people think that if I'm a donor and I'm in the hospital, that the doctors will try to save this person because they're a donor and use their organs and not not allow them to live. People think, well, if I'm gonna do it, they're gonna pick and choose who they want organs to be donated by. And I know that's not true, because I know it's called the OPTN. It's a place where it's a national system where whoever is a donor, their information is kept. Yeah. And the whole purpose of people when they go to the hospitals or for the medical team to save their life. So that's not something that the hospitals or medical doctors even consider.
I'll say not in this country. I can't speak for any place else, but there are a lot of ghost stories out there. And I think you said you want to say something about that.
I want to say that, I've heard those myths, and all I can really say is we got to trust in the Lord on things like that. Yeah. We'll be scared to death if we believe everything that we heard. We wouldn't even move. We wouldn't go outside. Trust in the Lord. If you're getting a kidney transplant in any kind of way, and you have friends and family and loved ones praying for you, believe that the outcome is going to be good. You know, don't go with the scare tactics, because you won't do anything.
I truly believe that. Yeah, I truly, and I trust in the Lord. And you know what, people, you know what, Karen, what happens is people, you know, have these myths and they say this and they say that. And the thing about that is people can say, oh, well, you know, if you do this, you know, this is going to happen. And people don't even realize that you can get in your car and drive.
Yeah.
You can get in the car and drive to the corner store and be at more risk than you are giving a donor.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you know, not to get too racially divided, but I do know that, you know, that we have come through a lot of different fables, a lot of myths, a lot of stories.
Mm-hmm.
And my only recommendation for anyone, never go to the hospital by yourself.
Yeah.
Our family has a practice of somebody remaining with that person all the time. And it has nothing to do with the voodoo that they may be talking about, or the hoodoo, but you just be there for patient care. Be there and be responsible for that person. Yes, the hospital has a responsibility, but your family does also.
Yeah, you need a voice.
You need a voice. You know, you're under the influence of narcotics or opioids or whatever it may be. You can't answer questions. Somebody needs to speak for you.
Right, and these are some of the things that, you know, we as we learn our heritage, we learn, you know, the family and learn our family, you know, what happens in our family origins and what goes on in our family. These are things that need to be talked about, you know, and this is the great time to talk about. This is the season of Christmas and, you know, where Jesus was born and families are going to be getting together. Maybe not as much as normal, but, you know, we're sitting down at the table and you have your 10, you know, your 10 family members or cousins or whomever else in this. That's a great topic to talk about, you know, when you're eating dinner. You know, hey, you know that someone has diabetes, or you know that someone is fighting heart disease, or they have high blood pressure, or even all the way to that person that's overly indulging in alcohol or drugs or anything like that. These are the things that we can talk about right now, because you may be sitting right next to that person at the table that can be that person that can save your life.
Absolutely.
That could be your you know, your person, that the person that has your kidney, the person that can help you to live life. You just never know. This is a great way to dive into the conversation during this Christmas holiday. And I know the pandemic has, you know, I'm assuming, and I hate to assume, but I'm assuming that because of the pandemic, that, you know, a lot of things have been not on hold, but have slowed down because of the pandemic, and they have to make sure that the person that is donating is clean and that there's no, you know, nothing showing the signs of COVID-19 and things like that. What is happening now when it comes to them getting a donor for you in regarding this COVID-19, to make sure that there's none of that being transferred over to you as a healthy young man?
Well, they're doing a number of tests, and, you know, every time I go near the hospital, I get a COVID test. She gets a COVID test, but the individual has to go to a clinic and go through all of the COVID-19 procedure to even do the urine test and do the necessary pre-blood testing before they even go. And they have to go through a physical examination. You know, and these things are not virtual. They have to actually go into the office with the mask, with the gloves, the sanitizer, the whole bit. And it's a risk. There's no doubt about it. But these are the things but the thing about it is actually some of those processes have been slowed down.
Yeah, I was going to say, everything is slowed down right now.
Because, you know, I think the University of Alabama, which is my second registry, I contacted them yesterday, and then all of a sudden they wanted me to come in today for a visit. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. No, I'm going to wait until this vaccine gets into motion before I start going back to the hospital. Mm-hmm. But most of their labor has gone towards COVID patients anyway. Mm-hmm. So any surgery that is not absolutely necessary is not being done. any testing that's not absolutely necessary is not being done. That's one of the ways that they're curtailing any possibility of the COVID spread through just, I guess you would call it non-essentials. If you're on dialysis, you are in a position to, and you can be in a whole position without having to rush through the donor process at this time.
So it sounds like right now, the Holmans, it sounds like right now is the time to get registered, because registering online is something, it's online. You don't have to go to a hospital to get registered. You can do that and fill out the paperwork right now. It sounds like this.
One of the things that part you do online, and then your primary care physician will give you the tools for testing. You know, you don't have to go to, like, for example, I'm registered at Emory and at USAB. You don't have to go to Emory or UAB. They will send you. A friend of mine received a kit for urine and for blood samples, and then he went to his doctor, and the doctor did the blood testing.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't have to be too inconvenienced in that area. Now, when it comes down for surgery, it'll be in one of those two hospitals.
And so what it sounds like is you're in Atlanta. You don't have to be in Atlanta to be a donor. You could be anywhere in the United States to have that.
Any country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, or any country.
So, Robert, tell me, how are you feeling today, Robert? You look great, and Karen, you look great as well. How are you feeling today?
I feel pretty good, because, you know, I'm getting to the point now that the dialysis, that treatments that I'm receiving, the clearing is so positive that everything in me seems back to normal. I don't have that medicine head that you start off with when you first start dialysis. At the facility that I go to, there's a cleanliness number called, I'll just call it a cleanliness number. And that number, it should be 1.4 to declare that you got clean that day. Well, mine is almost up to 2.
Wow, praise God. That's awesome.
I'm averaging about 1.9. And here's the other thing. We're not praying that these 3 kidneys that I have in me at the current time won't start back to work. Yeah. You know, I'm looking forward to that happening, if nothing else.
Amen. And it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. We pray and God answers.
Yes, He does.
Here is, I pray that someone out there is listening and they're open to registering and being a donor. We just want to make sure we clear the air in regarding, being a donor. And I'm sure that, Karen and Robert, they won't open up their home. I'm going to say their home, but they'll open up the lines of communication for anyone out there. And I'll let them do that before we close the show. But I do want to inform you guys that, I've met this beautiful couple being in Atlanta, and they're truly a love, and the love story that they tell regarding her being his donor. And it's just a story that is godly, divine. You can't make this stuff up. This is nothing that you can write in a book and say, well, I was at a candy shop and this is God. This is totally God. The fact that she was an exact match shows you how true God is. So for those who don't believe in God, if you haven't believed in Him up to this point, let this story allow you to believe and trust in God even the more when it comes to donating an organ. So if you're that person out there with O blood and you want to go through the trial to see if this is something that God has called you to do, and if you're feeling some type of way, pray about it. Just ask God if this is the way that He would have you to go to be a donor. And if it's God, it's going to be right. You don't have to worry about anything being wrong, because if it's the will of God, it's going to be the best thing that you could have ever done in your life.
Yes.
And you know what, Karen and Robert, I want to just thank you guys so much for being a part of the Positive Vibes Show. And what is the positive, Karen? Since this is Positive Vibes, I want to talk about the positive things that you've taken, that you've received from giving your husband your kidney. What's the positive things?
Well, the positive thing is I have him. He's healthy. And, we can do a lot of things together. We have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and they all love him very much. They love me, but they really love him. And so we have that. And I have a godly man who's the head of a household of 3 or 4 levels. And I'm not sure if everybody understands the importance of it, but it is very important. You need a You need a Godhead in the house.
Hey,
Okay.
let's talk about it. This is Christmas, and this is the time where people are lonely and people are choosing mates that are not equipped by God to be that head of the household. So this is really gonna help someone today. What is it about being the head? Let's talk about that real quick. Because maybe that's the mind.
Okay, so I know we're in a time where women are talking about being a strong woman, a boss or whatever, being a strong woman. I don't have anything against that. No. But God's order is God, husband, wife, children. Yeah. That's his order. And there's a reason that the man, he put the man first. Not only is the man stronger physically, and I'm not going to say he's stronger mentally, no. But if he's a man that chases after God or worships God or believes in God, he's going to have some structure. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he's never going to get anything wrong, but he has structure because he hears God. And, if you're making a big decision, and I know, I feel like sometimes, I know I'm right, but then I have to relinquish that right and see what he's talking about. Even for a perfect example, it's like when we give, say if you're at church and it's just, it's not tithing, we do tithe and we do that, but they just want an offering for something. I don't say anything. And then I look to him and I'll have an amount in my mind, but I look to him and he'll give me an amount and it's right on head, so we don't have to tussle about things like that. But it's direction, and I'm not a wimpy woman. Okay, for all those who thinking, I'm a strong woman. I'm a strong woman. I'm kind of outspoken and all that stuff. I'm not afraid to say what I feel, but I thank God for giving me this order because I didn't always appreciate that. I thought I knew more, and maybe I do in some areas, but this is not an accident. God didn't put man and woman together by accident. He just didn't. So
the family needs
leadership.
And that's not to say that, I was raised up for a minute in a single family structure. And fortunately, I thank God that my mother finally got married and I had a stepfather. Mm-hmm. And I saw some things that he did for somebody else's child that impressed me for the rest of my life. And to this day, I have a stepdaughter now. I treat her absolutely no different than my natural born children because that's the way I was treated. There's no separation from me. Now, they're in the minds of a lot of people, you're not my daddy, you're not my this, you're not my whatever, but that doesn't matter to me because you can be a father to a child on the street and you don't even know who they are. But you have to see that somewhere. You can't see it, you can't be it.
Right.
I thank God for that part of my life. And then to grow up in a ministry that trained men how to be men, how to be fathers. I went into a ministry in 1991. In 26 years, I came out.
Unless you're going to be there in 2000.
Yeah, I'm prophesied. I went into this ministry in 1991 as a man, a husband, a family man, and all those things. And I came out 25 years later, a man of God, knowing some things that were right to do, but still in process.
Yeah.
And understanding that I'll be in process to the day I die.
Yeah.
But I'm always looking and sensing to see what is God saying, even to the breeze that touches my skin. And why? Because I want to know how to lead my family. Is there going to be some competition sometimes? Yes, there is.
Is there going to be some arguments?
Yes, there is. But because it was the word that brought me to her in the first place. He told me that this was my queen. I didn't see a queen nowhere in the area. But he said, this is your queen, because it was in process. Yeah. Bottom line. So that word alone caused us to get married. Not the way we felt about each other, because if we got married based on the way we felt, we would have barely been friends.
Wow.
But I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was love that brought this thing together, and it was the love that he placed on us that I call it, what I call the double yoke, where we're yoked with Christ and then yoked with each other. Is that yoke that kept us together, and to maintain this relationship. Because I was reading this morning where it says, "Love them as I love you." Don't love them the way I feel about you. So I had to love her as he loved me, not the way I love myself, because that can be a little twisted at times.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of understanding, that kind of spiritual leadership that caused this family to stay together.
Amen. Now, Karen, I'm just in the back of my mind, I just thought about the license and being a donor on the license. I know we were going to touch on that just a little bit. You know, what does it, I mean, and then we have to probably get more information regarding having that donor thing on your license. And also, like you said, you have that advanced directive.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have that donor on that donor sticker or whatever on your license, that person knows that you have an advanced directive, and they just can't do whatever they want to do with your organs, because you have to have to the importance of that advanced directive.
They want to do. They should not do whatever they want to do. And I'm going to believe that they won't do whatever they want to do. Because an advanced directive tells them exactly, I mean, just putting it on your driver's license, when you go renew your driver's license, do you want to put donor on here? You say, yeah. But your advanced directive is very specific. I want to donate this to this and this to this, or I want to donate all my organs, you know. And then, like he said, a power of attorney. If there's somebody there to speak for you, then that's something totally different. But I tell you what, okay, say if you have an advanced directive and a power of attorney, your advanced directive might specifically say what you want. Specifically, I want everything donated. Your power of attorney gives somebody else the power to make decisions. So I'm not sure. So I can't say for sure which one will stand. Yeah.
Wow.
That's something to be researched.
We have both.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Robert and Karen, you know, I'm just this has blessed me. I don't know if it's blessed anybody else. It's blessed me in regarding, you know, just being, you know, just knowing that the head is the person that is supposed to be the head person of the household. Yeah. As we're living in Robert, as we're living in a day and age where, you know, the men are struggling in this day and age, and there's many reasons as to why they're struggling. They're struggling with insecurities. They're struggling because they didn't have that father figure there to teach them how to be that man in the household. And also, a lot of them they don't have God. What are some things that you can minister to, or you can say to the young men or men that are watching this broadcast today, to make sure that they get themselves in order? Because we want to see more families bloom. We want to see more families stick together. We want to see more families up under the hedge of protection of God. Especially the young men that have gone astray in regarding their leadership role in the families. We want to touch young boys. We want to touch men that can change their life. Yeah.
One of the things that I continue to do with my grandsons and my son as much as possible is to instill in them, excuse me, to remain teachable at all times. You have to have that teachable spirit in order for you to be mentored. Excuse me. If you cannot be taught, you cannot improve. That's the bottom line. If you think you know everything, then there's nothing else that we can give you. I teach my grandsons to always be observant. Watch other people. Watch what they do. Watch the reaction of the people that they interface with. The one thing that can never be taken away from you are lessons learned. Now, I'm not talking about lessons in, what am I thinking? Where you look at something, judge it, and then vow that you'll never let that happen to you. That's really not a lesson learned. You just put yourself in bondage. I try to teach them how to get out of bondage and not stay in bondage. I will never let a woman treat me like this again. Well, then you're going to become an abuser eventually. And as you said, there's so many of us that were raised without fathers, don't even know who a father was, don't know how to be a father. You mentioned family. Families, we're talking about are godly nuclear families, not babies all over the place. That's a whole different story. Those are yours too. You're responsible for them. The other thing is to be responsible. Learn how to forgive. You got to learn how to forgive. Because if you don't learn how to forgive, you will keep yourself in bondage as well as somebody else. I'm never going to let this. And there are so many athletes that are not teachable when it comes down to being a godly man or being a man in general. They're very good athletes, but they're uncoachable for the most part. Some of the better athletes that you see out here with natural born skills, not taught skills, but natural born skills are hard to be taught by a man because most of them grew up in a family without a father. I think there are foundations I think there's a foundation in the National Football League that covers that. But the other thing is you have to become a part of a Christian godly organization. And I have to clarify that. Everybody standing in the pulpit ain't godly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to be in a ministry that teaches, not one that just preaches. All right. Because preaching will draw them, but teaching will keep them. And we have to have some structure. There has to be life application every single time you go into the church building. When somebody teaches you something about the Bible, it has to apply to your life today. All right. It has to apply to my life. It has to apply to the 20-year-old. It has to apply to the 8-year-old. It has to have an application that makes us become better people. All right. And without that, we're just in rehearsal for going to heaven. That's the bottom line. We can't help out. It's not our job to get to heaven. It's our job to bring heaven to earth. And we can't do that without some type of spiritual understanding. And that's the impactful part about mentoring. Boys need to be mentored. Girls need to be mentored. A daughter needs to hear a father's voice, just as well as a son needs to hear a father's voice. If you're raising a girl and she has never heard the voice of a man, that's going to be a problem. Because every time she hears the voice of a man, it's going to irritate her to some degree. It really is. He didn't put us here, male and female, to be divided. This group is going to go over here as men, and that group is going to go over there as women. And when they come together, they have no understanding who the other is.
Wow.
All they can tell you, well, I have some brother who has stinky feet, and I don't like men because their feet might stink. That's a myth. There's so many myths that keep us divided, and that is the work of the enemy. And our job as fathers is to dispel the works of the enemy. You follow me? We have to first become servants, then become friends, and then become sons of God in order to continue the work that's necessary. The enemy has to go out of our families. It really does. We can't just go to church on Sunday and let the preacher preach it out. We got to live it out.
Amen.
It starts with the Father.
And this leads me to Queen Karen here. Karen, there's a lot of women, that are in this COVID thing. There are a lot of single women that are having that sense of loneliness and looking for that. I guess the thing is looking for that, which is the wrong words to say. How do we, as women, and this could be for me to, be content and just be patient in regarding, the godly man that he would have for us. There's a lot of women out there that are getting into relationships that are brutal, abusive, and just downright ugly. How does a woman hear the voice of God, and like you've heard the voice of God when you heard him speak to you regarding your husband being the donor? How does a woman rid herself of distractions and be self-centered in God and hearing God's voice and being the woman that God has called her to be?
Okay, you know what? First, I want to say a lot of times when I talk to women and they're talking about looking for a man, and they talk about the characteristics that they want. They want him to drive this. They want him to make this kind of money. They want him to buy me this. They want him to so and so and so. And I said, and they want him to look fine and, and all that kind of stuff. And one time when I was having a conversation with women, they were all single. And I said, well, you all have different characteristics than I do. I mean, different requirements. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I want a man that's godly. I want a man that's honest. I want a man with good character. I want a man that loves his family. I don't care about all those outside forces. You know what? I'm not going to say I never did, but I learned from that. That's not what I want. I need somebody who's honest, who's caring, who has a good, I can't even think of the word, integrity. I need a man of integrity. Is he a liar? If he's a liar to everybody else, he's a liar to you. Is he a cheater? I mean, if he likes to be out there, you're not going to be any different. I don't care how beautiful you are. So you gotta, it has to be the person. It's not all the outside exterior. And I'm gonna say in these times of COVID, and I have a really good friend that's really going through this right now. I just say, just being experiencing this with her.
Mm-hmm.
I just say that we need to, at this time, Zoom with your girlfriends, do whatever you have to do to keep yourself company. Talk with your family. This is not a time to go out and run and get something that may not turn out so well. Okay, there's a time for everything. There's a season for everything. Just continue to, do the things that you do that make you happy. What makes you happy? Do those things. You don't always need somebody by your side at a time like this. It's a pandemic. You can't afford to be going out there doing that. And, and I still believe in, and I was just telling my husband this the other day, I believe that a man finds a woman when he finds her serving God.
Yeah.
He found me serving God. I wasn't serving God thinking about him. I was just serving God because I believe in that.
Yeah.
You can be a greeter, a usher, or whatever. You can be out passing out food, to hungry people. But those kind of things are attractive. You'll probably attract an honest person because they will likely be serving too. I'm never going to say perfect, but an honest person. So I would just say, let's just wait this season out, not get too anxious. Don't jump into something that you know is not good and put up with it. And another thing, know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You are a child of the Most High God. God loves you. He wouldn't set you up with something that's going to hurt you or disrespect who you are. Okay? And I don't mean somebody that's going to, I am talking about somebody that put their hands on you. That's automatic. That's stay away. But somebody that just doesn't respect you. You call them and they ain't never around, but they show up on the weekend at 9:00 with a bottle of wine. And that's the only time they come around. If that's what you want, that's one thing. But if you're looking for a relationship, you're looking for somebody to talk to you every day or just say boo or something, then that's what you seek. And if they're not doing that, you might have to have a conversation. And I'm going to tell you something else Rob and I did in the beginning. When we met, he wanted to know what was my 5-year plan? Where would I be in 5 years? Do I tithe?
Yeah.
Do you believe in this? I can't remember everything. Do you believe in that? We wanted to know that our value system was the same. Yes. We wanted to know that we had the same value system. We valued the same thing. I didn't care about bling and all that kind of stuff. I like bling, but that wasn't my priority. I didn't care about, the shiniest car out there. I need a car too, but that's not my priority. That will never sway me toward a man. And that's just me. And a lot of people say, oh, girl, you just old school. But it works for me.
The other thing is, if you're a single woman, do not allow the enemy to trick you into thinking that you shouldn't hang out with married people. Hang out with good Christian married people. You cannot become a nurse without going to nursing school.
Yeah.
You cannot become a doctor without going to medical school. You cannot become a wife without going to wife school. God didn't say when a man takes a woman. He said when a man takes a wife, which means there's been some training involved. All right. You are untrained, unskilled in a profession that you're going to fail at.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have any understanding. It's supposed to start in your mother's kitchen, but it doesn't always start there.
Right.
Just like a husband. That's training. That's a title. That means training is required. We have to get that. We can't just come in with feelings and expect them to, and a bunch of expectations that won't be met. And so I'll advise every girlfriend out there, don't tell yourself you're the third wheel. Now you can be, if you come around too much, the third wheel, but learn how married people operate and learn, just like David, what to do and what not to do.
And also, when they have married couple seminars, like, go.
Go.
As a matter of fact, I was single when I started going at the church I was at.
Go.
I was single.
Right.
I had been divorced, but I knew I was a wife.
Yeah.
So I started going to the married couples group every Sunday. Yeah. And he just happened to be in there. Yeah. But that's a whole different story. But I still needed to know. I needed to learn. Yeah. I knew I did a terrible job the first time, but I didn't want to do it again.
Yeah, and she was serving. We were both in the healing and deliverance ministry when I saw her service.
Wow.
And, yeah, and you know, it wasn't like it was some lustful thing. I just saw she was a little silly. I will be honest with you. She was a little silly. But the thing about it is, if she couldn't figure something out, she'd come and get me. They can hold me. Come over here. What's the problem?
Beautiful.
And we work it out together.
That's so awesome. Well, I don't want to forget, you know, we were talking about being a donor for you, Robert. You're standing in the need of a kidney. Yeah. You guys just minister to me, and you've done it before, and I'm truly appreciative of your time. Let us know the website that you had, if you have that website that, you know, people can go to register if they want to be a donor. And you know, I hope you guys have your pens and pencils and things like that. And we're gonna rebroadcast this to Karen. It'll be on Karen's site as well as it'll be on my website at www. You guys know my website. It'll be on my website. You can see it on YouTube as well. So you get all this information that you need regarding being a donor. It's going to be out there. We pray that, you know, you are thinking about that decision of being a donor and saving someone's life. Not only saving their life, saving someone else's life. You can save your life. You can see Karen is living a long, beautiful, healthy life in God as well as just on here on earth. So don't let that stop you.
No, it hasn't stopped me at all. I mean, nothing. I have no health issues related to donating the kidney. None. And like I said, it's been 15 years. Okay, so I just want to say the first site to register is Emory, which is EMORY. Donor screen, one word, DONORSCREEN.org. And that's to register as a potential donor for Robert, and you're going to need his birthday. So his name is Robert Holman, HOLMAN, and his birthday is 2/12/1948. And I just want to say, if you go to our Facebook page, which is called Need Living Donor, you can automatically press the button on there, and it'll take you right to Emory donor screen.
I'm going to put this up here. So we gather her.
Okay.
I think I did.
Should I keep going? Oh, great.
I just got it. Yeah. Hey, Facebook page Need Living Donor. Is that right?
Hey, yes, but Need Living Donor is separated from page, but that's okay. They'll figure that out. And then the next place you can sign up to donate a kidney for Robert is you can call this number, which is the University of Alabama at Birmingham. The number is 205-975-9200. Hit option 4. And that's to qualify to donate through the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And that's also on the Facebook page. You can hit those buttons from the Facebook page that we have. And I'm just going to say this, although it's called Need a Living Donor, I don't know if I should give you the Facebook address.
Is Need a Living Donor?
No, need living donor.
Okay, need living donor.
Yes, like you wrote it the first time.
Okay. I just was make sure I just make that change on there.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. They need living donor.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's good.
Yes.
I spelled Alabama wrong, but it's okay. I was rushing to get it done.
That's
All
okay.
right.
It's Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Emory dot donor screen.
Yeah.
Is it Emory dot?
Yeah. Emory dot donor screen dot
She got that wrong.
org.
Wait, Emory dot donor screen? Okay. Emory dot donorscreen.org. Okay.
Yes.
Then I have Robert Holman, 212-1948, Facebook page, Need Living Donor. Call 205-975-9200. Option 4, University of Alabama. Let me change that. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. There we go.
Here we go.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's scroll for a little moment, and we want to just thank everybody, wish them a Merry Christmas, and
Yes.
mask up, and
Yes.
wash your hands, and
Yes.
socially distance, and also don't forget, if you're in Atlanta, you still have to January 5th, I think, to vote.
Yeah.
Vote. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
Very important.
Just make it happen.
And we thank you for your love story, which has touched my heart this morning. It's just good to see you. I haven't seen you guys in a little bit,
Right.
but I know God is going to do miraculous work. This is going to be on my website, as well as it's going to be on your Facebook page, and also just throughout the Facebook, throughout the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, be blessed. Thank you so much. Now it's time for lunch.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate you.
Guys, thank you so much. God bless you. I'll send this over to you right now when we get off.
All
Okay.
right, thank you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Bye now.